Lester Holt.
Good day. We're coming back on the air with more breaking news about Bill Cosby. The comedian was just released from prison after the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the 83-year-old actor's sex assault conviction. Cosby served more than 2 years of a 3 to 10-year sentence, convicted of drugging and molesting Temple University employee Andrea Constant. NBC Justice correspondent Pete Williams joins us. Pete, what can you tell us about the legal reasoning that led to this decision?
Well, the court says the facts are very straightforward, that when the victim initially came forward, the district attorney decided not to file charges, that there were too many problems with the evidence, and that he publicly made a statement that he would not pursue these charges, and that he did so in order to free up the possibility that Cosby could be forced to testify in a civil trial that she filed against him later, and that he could not in that civil trial then invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination because he was told by the district attorney and believed the advice of his own lawyers that anything he said in the civil trial could not be used against him in the criminal trial if the state tried it again. So he did testify, he did incriminate himself, he said things that were incriminating in the civil trial, and then the district, the state of Pennsylvania came back and charged him with the crime. What the Supreme Court said today is, you can't do that. You made him, you gave him a reason to believe that he could testify at the civil trial without putting himself in jeopardy of the criminal prosecution. The Pennsylvania court said, our sense of fair play and decency compels us to believe that the district attorney had to stand by the decision that was made by a predecessor in the office not to charge. So that's the reasoning of the court. The outcome, Lester, is that he cannot be tried again on these charges. That means that the woman at the center of this case, she can't be the subject of another criminal prosecution. This one is over. Now, that doesn't mean that other victims could come forward and the state could investigate and decide whether or not to pursue criminal charges based on entirely different facts, but there can't be a retrial on this case.
We know that there were other women who testified of what they thought was similar behavior against them. There's a statute of limitations issue. Would that prevent some of these cases from going forward?
Potentially, and the court doesn't explicitly says here that they're not making any decision about any other potential case or any of the testimony that was offered in the civil trial. They simply say that issue isn't before us and we're not going to answer it.
Pete Williams, thanks for it. It sounds from what we're hearing it would be an uphill battle to try and retry him. But let's say, for example, they do find an alleged victim whose case falls within the statute of limitations. Would they wouldn't be able to use the testimony essentially of Bill Cosby himself from a civil suit. So would that make it an even steeper climb?
It would be very difficult because it appears that the court has ruled that all of this evidence is essentially precluded from being used against Bill Cosby. But as we've already mentioned, the statute of limitations has almost certainly passed for some of these older allegations. If there are newer allegations, they may fall within the statute. And the prosecution or the Commonwealth would not be precluded if they had separate independent facts to base that decision. So that is a prosecutorial decision that would depend on whether or not they have new evidence.
And the prosecution also has to look at how much time he's already served and what the likelihood of a conviction would be, correct?
That's right. I mean, the decision to prosecute Cosby at this point, for especially if these are older allegations, is a very difficult one for the prosecution because they have to weigh that against the resources that they would expend in prosecuting Cosby against the possibility that he might either get acquitted or that these witnesses may not even be able to introduce these prior bad acts witnesses the way they were able to the first time around. The Supreme Court didn't reach that issue, but it is certainly not a sure thing that the prosecution would be able to march in all of these prior bad acts witnesses, and that's women who would testify that Cosby did similar things to them in the past.
All right, Danny, thank you. Let me